بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم تسليما كثيرا. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Alhamdulillah, it's a great honor to be here this morning at the Irvine Masjid. So we're going to get started. They were having a discussion, who's going to introduce me? So I settled the discussion. I'll just introduce myself. So, brothers and sisters, this is the Imam Zaid Shakir, and I've been here before, so really, we don't even need introduction. The topic is based on the very popular saying everyone's familiar with, where ignorance is bliss, 'tis folly to be wise. So we just flip that around. Where knowledge is bliss, 'tis folly to be ignorant. So in our religion, in Islam, knowledge is bliss. Because knowledge is the key to paradise. Knowledge is the key to paradise. We have to know what we believe in. So we have to know how to pray. We have to know the rulings associated with purification. We have to know the rulings for Ramadan. When do you start fasting? When do you break your fast? It's all knowledge. We have to learn the rules of tajweed, how to properly recite the Quran. It's knowledge. We have to learn what are acceptable beliefs and what are unacceptable beliefs. It's knowledge. So, for example, if we could just quickly reference, not go through the entire hadith, since quite fairly lengthy hadith, the hadith of Jibreel alayhi salam. He asked the Prophet about four things, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. بينما نحن جلوس عند رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم ذات يوم اطلع علينا رجل شديد بياض الثياب شديد سواد الشعر لا يرى عليه أثر السفر ولا يعرفه منا أحد حتى جلس عند النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم وأسند ركبتيه إلى ركبتيه ووضع كفيه على فخذيه وقال يا محمد أخبرني عن الإسلام أخبرني عن الإيمان أخبرني عن الإحسان أخبرني عن الساعة Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. So they said, as we were sitting in the presence of the Messenger of Allah, may the blessings and peace of Allah be upon him, one day a man came upon us. He had an intensely white garment, intensely black hair. There were no signs of travel visible upon him, yet no one of us knew him, which was paradoxical. Because he didn't have any signs of travel, which indicate he didn't travel. He must be a local person, but no one knew him, which indicates he must be a stranger. And he put his knees up against the knees of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he placed his hands on either his thighs or the Prophet's thighs sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and he said, "O Muhammad, inform me of Islam, Iman, Ihsan, Wasa'. Inform me about the practices of the religion." To summarize the meaning of Islam in this context, what do I have to do to be a Muslim? So you have to learn what you have to do to be a Muslim. If you have an opportunity. Some people take Shahada, bam, they pass away, so they never had an opportunity. But if you have an opportunity, and they're saved, they're from people of Jannah. But if you have an opportunity, you have to try to learn. And tashhad an la ilaha illallah wa anna Muhammadan Rasulullah wa tuqima as-salat wa tu'ti az-zakah wa tasuma Ramadan wa tahujj al-bayt idha istata'ta ilayhi sabila qala sadaqta. So the shahada, the prayer, the fasting, zakat, Ramadan. Fa'akhbirni 'an al-iman, faith. So, Shahada, what is the Shahada? We have to know what is the Shahada. It's fairly simple. But what negates it? What reinforces it? What affirms it? We have to know how to pray. We just don't jump on the rug and, put our hands right there. I always was different, so everyone's putting their hands here, but I'm gonna put my hands up here. I was always different. I always did my own thing, so not putting my hands where everyone else puts their. No, you have to learn where to put the hands, what are acceptable limits, and which is very important because sometimes people get bogged down. They're arguing about things that aren't amenable to disputation. Why? Because there's many different ways to do it. You can put your hands here, and you might have your proof for that. You put your hands here, like the Hanafi, you can hang your hands at the side. Like many of the Malikis and Shi'i, you could, what's important. So people argue, no, your hands shouldn't be down here, they should be up here, they shouldn't be like that, they shouldn't be like that. Imam Husni, who wrote a book in Shafi fiqh called Kifayatul Akhyar. Kifayatul Akhyar. He said, it doesn't matter where you put your hands as long as you're not moving them excessively and the excessive movement violates your prayer. So the Shafi is called the hayat of the prayer, the non-essential external structure of the prayer. They're non-essential, not from the arkan, not from what Shafi is called the ab'ad. So it doesn't matter. So we just relax. But if we don't know that, then we're fighting. And then we often, and it takes a very humble person who fights with people and then finds out 6 months later, after he or she studied some more, that either they were wrong or the person they were fighting with was right. Because there's more than one way to do it. It takes great humility to go and apologize. Most people can argue, very few people can apologize. So the more you learn, the less argumentative you become. It seems counterintuitive, right? That's how, the more you learn, the less argumentative you become. The more you learn, the more tolerant you become. The more you learn, the more patient with people you become. And that's the source of bliss, where knowledge is bliss. Why? Because you don't have to stress yourself out arguing with people. Knowledge is bliss. We have these fools blowing themselves up all over Europe and the Middle East. Probably you got some of them waiting to blow themselves up in America. Think they're doing so. They're just giving the enemies of Islam. They're what have been referred to. Some people say it was Lenin or Trotsky rather who coined this phrase, but that's kind of been rejected. But the idea of the useful idiot. So the idea of the useful idiot is some idiot who thinks they're doing something to advance their cause, but they're just a pawn being used by someone who has a bigger game that they're playing. And so we have a lot of useful idiots in Islam, in the Muslim community, who think they're advancing some noble cause, and they're only giving the enemies of Islam the pretext to chase people away from Islam who might otherwise be attracted towards it, chase young people away from Islam, because we mentioned yesterday in one context, young people are affected by peer pressure. So we mentioned yesterday, hope none of you were there, because it's not good to say the same thing twice. But there was a lady, she was 104 years old, and they interviewed her, and they asked her, what's the best part about being 104 years old? She said, there's no peer pressure. But young people are affected by peer pressure. So you have young Muslims in the West, they're going to school and people looking at them like, you're going to blow me up, and making fun of them, oh, you terrorist, and it weighs on young people. And we're going to come back to this, inshallah. It weighs on people, and so a lot of people aren't strong. Some people are strong. You know, you calling me a terrorist, you're a terrorist. You need to go read your own history. You know, how come we got all these Indian names over here and there's no Indians? Because you terrorized and killed them all. Terrorists. You got some young Muslims like that. Sister's laughing. That's my daughter. But most people aren't like that. Most people are just normal. And so things weigh on them. And it's a crime when the actions of people who are allegedly, purportedly acting in Islam put Muslims in dilemmas that they might not be able to handle. And so if these people knew our religion, they don't know the religion. Half of them are just emotionally driven. They're victims of racism, prejudice. You might have people here, you know, they're sick of being bullied, and someone says you can get even. Just blow yourself up. Don't get mad, get even. How do you get even? Blow yourself up. Suicide's haram. So someone who studies the religion knows suicide is haram. Is one of the most gravely condemned sins in our religion. The Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned, whoever stabs himself with something, killing themselves, they'll have that blade in their hand in the hellfire, and they'll continue to stab themselves and experience the pain of that on top of the pain of being in the hellfire for the rest of eternity. And you know the rest of eternity? في نار جهنم خالدا مخلدا أبدا. That's pretty strong if you know Arabic. Khalidan, they'll stay in the hellfire. في نار جهنم. They'll stay in the hellfire forever. خالدين فيها أبدا. خالدا مخلدا, they'll be forced to stay there. أبدا, forever and ever. And whoever drinks poison, killing themselves, they will hold that poison in their hand and they'll continue to drink it in the fire of hell forever and ever. And whoever hurls themselves from a mountain, or the Golden Gate Bridge, for that matter, they will continue to hurl themselves from a mountain forever and ever in the hellfire. So the pain of falling and hitting, when you hit water from like 200 or 300 feet up, it's like hitting concrete. And I know because my cousin, I won't say his name, he wasn't a Muslim. He was a beautiful man. He was very helpful. He helped so many people. He's very successful. He was a high-level corporate lawyer for General Foods at their corporate headquarters in White Plains, New York. And a BMW, he had a house in New Jersey, he had a jacuzzi in the attic. He had it all. One day he drove his BMW to the middle of the Tappan Zee Bridge and he jumped off. And when he hit the water, his body exploded. Because he helped everyone, but he had his own issues. He didn't know how to reach out and get help from others. Like I said, he wasn't a Muslim, and so may Allah judge him based on Allah's mercy. In any case, suicide is haram. He said, so they'll continue to hurl themselves from a mountain, and the pain of hitting the bottom of the cliff and the rocks will be on top of the pain of the torment of the hellfire. Now, what makes us think someone who blows themselves up, that's somehow not suicide? I mean, so there's a fatwa It's a fatwa. See, if we study, we know the fatwa is an invalid fatwa because it's based on a false analogy. You read all the fatawa. I've read the fatawa on permissibility of amaliyat istashhidiyya, the permissibility of martyrdom operations. Let's give a euphemistic name. They don't say intihariya. They don't say suicide operations, martyrdom operations. And they say, what's the al-illa? To make an analogical analysis, or analogous argument. That there were companions and they charged into the fray and they knew they were going to die and they charged forth. And there are many hadith like that, but every single one of those hadith, they were all killed by the enemies. None of them killed themselves. None of them killed themselves. So it's al-qiyas ma wujud al-firaq fil illah. It's a false analogy. Because going into a situation where there's certain death that you're going to be killed by someone else isn't analogous with killing yourself, which has been condemned in the strongest terms in our religion. بادرني عبدي في نفسه فحرمت عليه الجنة. Hadith Qudsi, where the Prophet ﷺ فيما يرويه عن ربي عز وجل بادرني عبدي في نفسه فحرمت عليه الجنة. My servant has competed with me concerning his life, meaning in hastening his death, so I've made paradise forbidden for him. In other words, I decreed that it's all under Allah's decree, but I had a natural decree, a natural lifespan. He's hastened it by killing himself. فَحَرَّمْتُ عَلَيْهِ الْجَنَّةِ. So I made Jannah forbidden for him. Now, so what if you put on top of that crime the crime of murder? Like these people in Lahore, Pakistan, this morning, who go into a bunch of Christians celebrating Easter and blow themselves up and murder those people. And then what if you put on top of that crime the crime of violating the covenant? So a Christian in a majority Muslim land is mu'ahad. They have an oath of protection to be protected. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said, whoever violates the covenant of protection, then I will be the defendant of those who were violated on the day of judgment. I will be their advocate. So you multiply these crimes, and then it says jihad. That's ignorance, and it's folly. Why? Because each and every one of those crimes, the perpetrator is threatened with hell. Suicide is threatened with hell. Murder is threatened with hell. Violating the covenant of protection is threatened with hell. And so you compound it. And so where knowledge is bliss, if the people had knowledge, they have their life. They have protection from hell. Tis folly to be ignorant. It's folly to be ignorant. And then you multiply the deaths of other people. So these people are, how many people in Syria have died? How many people in Iraq have died? And many of them, yes, many have been killed by American bombs, NATO bombs, no doubt about it. How many have been killed by people who claim to be Muslims compared to the numbers killed by those who aren't, by Zionists or Americans or NATO. How many? How many people driven from their homes? By those who claim to be Muslim. All the Syrians fleeing into Europe, into Turkey, into Jordan, into Lebanon. How many lost their homes and lost their security as a result of the United States or Israel? And how many as a result of the actions of someone who claims to be a Muslim? And we have to have some hard reckoning, hard talk amongst ourselves, so we can rid these things from our community and we can build our affairs based on knowledge. And we're not susceptible to emotional appeals, but we can think reasonably and rationally. May Allah give us tawfiq. Allah Ta'ala give us tawfiq. So, Islam, what we should be doing. Iman, what we should believe. And tu'mina billahi wa malaikatihi wa kutubihi wa rusulihi wal yawm al-akhiri wa tu'minu bil qadari khayrihi wa sharri. That you believe in Allah on the last day and the angels and the scriptures and the prophets and the last day and the divine decree. So these are things that we believe in. The details require knowledge. They require knowledge. فَأَخْبِرْنِي عَنِ الْإِحْسَانِ. Tell me about ihsan. And here the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he didn't describe a list of things, a litany of things, and tashhad an la ilaha illallah wa tuqima as-salat tutya zakat and tu'mina billahi wa malaikatihi wa kutubihi wa rusulihi. He described the state of being. And ta'bud Allah fa'akhbirni an al-ihsan. And ta'bud Allah ka'annaka tarahu fa'in lam takun tarahu fa'innahu yarak. That you worship Allah as if you see Him, and if you fail to see Him, know that He observes you. So it's a state of awareness of Allah's observing us. And so knowledge of the states of being, this has always been considered part of our religion. And again, people don't think about these things, and then the issues associated with that, which goes back to, amongst other things, character. Our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the essence of the religion, what does he say? إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَحَاسِنَ الْأَخْلَاقِ وفي الرواية مكارم الأخلاق. I've only been sent to perfect good character. And so our ulama have laid out and delineated what constitutes good character. And what are the four foundational, in the Christian terminology, they refer to as the cardinal virtues. Imam Ghazali expounds on these in the Ihya. There's four of them. In alphabetical order: Ha, Sheen, Ain, Ain. Ha, Sheen, Ain, Ain. Ha, Hikmah, wisdom. So, wisdom is a great virtue. Hikmah. Well, what is hikmah? Many definitions. One of them, I found a very beautiful definition. Ibn Qayyim al-Jawziyah, hikmatu, فعل الذي ينبغي بالوقت الذي ينبغي بالأسلوب الذي ينبغي. Doing the right thing in the right manner at the right time. Allahu Akbar. Doing the right thing, the right way, at the right time. That's wisdom. So being judicious, knowing There's another definition. This guy wasn't a Muslim. Apologize for even bringing him up in the masjid. Willie Nelson. Some of you have heard of Willie Nelson. Oh, Willie, he said you gotta know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, know when to run. You never count your money while you're sitting at the table. There'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done. That's wisdom. You gotta know when to hold 'em, know when to fold 'em, know when to walk away, know when to run. Let's go back to Ibn Qayyim. But knowing, again, he's saying doing the right thing in the right way at the right time. There's a time to hold them, hold on to your cards, right? It's just an allegory. To hold them, to fold them, to time to just stop playing. It's time to exit the game. Right? This is very, very important. There's a time to just ease away from a situation. Right? So you and your wife are getting ready to, the guy, let's get ready to rumble. Here's your wife. We're going to have 15 minutes of vigorous argumentation. And this corner, wearing the red jilbab, weighing in at 138 pounds, Sister Aisha. And in this corner, with the black taqiyya, weighing in at 238 pounds, and the white jalabiyya, her husband, Brother Ahmed. All right, this is going to be a dirty argument. There'll be no reason allowed, no mercy. All that stuff you learned at the halaqah. وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. That's from Allah. Forget that. These rules were made by shaitan. فَيَتَعَلَّمُونَ مِنْهُمَا مَا يُفَرِّقُونَ بِهِ بَيْنَ الْمَرْءِ وَزَوْجِهِ. Those are the rules that are in effect. All right, are you ready? Yes. Yeah. You got to know when to walk away and know when to run. See, Willie was a wise man. So, in knowing that, the guy, let's get ready to rumble, that's shaitan. He's like, you thought it was the guy at whatever, at wherever they have the MGM Grand in Las Vegas, where they had the boxing matches. That was shaitan in your living room. Let's get ready to rumble. You gotta know when to walk away, know when to run. But anyway, so Imam Ghazali, wisdom, hikmah, washeen, shaja', courage. And courage is the highest of all of the virtues. Because courage gives birth to more virtues than anything else. So courage itself, and courage is moderating. All of these virtues are not eliminating innate characteristics we have, but moderating them. Because if we eliminate them, then the benefit that comes from their wise use is lost. So courage is rooted in the instinct or the characteristic of anger. Because when we're angry, we go forward. There's aqdam. Like, what? You calling me? And so you're not even thinking, you're like, but we have to moderate it. So if you lose it altogether, then your rights can be violated, but more importantly, rights of others can be violated. So we don't want to lose it altogether, but if we can't control it, then we're just wild people. So anything that's said to us, we're ready to fight somebody. Yo, you talking to me? I just said salam alaikum, brother. No, you didn't say salam alaikum. You said salam alaikum, brother. It was sarcastic and insulting. No one insults me. All right, whatever. See, now you're just trying to dismiss me altogether. You know what happens when people diss me? Y'all know who I am. So if it's out of control, there's no benefit. When it's moderated, then it can become virtuous. It could lead us to go forward when we should go forward. It can lead us to sacrifice when we should sacrifice. Charity is rooted in courage, because a charitable person doesn't fear losing what they give away in charity. So when the Prophet ﷺ, Yom Hunayn, he gave a person called Al-Aqra bin Habis. He's a very tough guy. That name sounds like a tough guy. Sound like him, brother. What's your name? Aqra bin Habis. Put you in prison, you look at me wrong. But the Prophet ﷺ, he gave him a whole valley of livestock. فرجع إلى قومه وقال يا قوم أسلموا فإن محمدا يعطي عطاء من لا يخشى الفاقة. He said, people become Muslim because Muhammad gives like a man who doesn't fear poverty. فإن محمدا يعطي عطاء من لا يخشى الفاقة. So courage is the foundation of charity. Muhammad spins like a person that doesn't fear poverty. فكان صلى الله عليه وسلم أشجع الناس وكان صلى الله عليه وسلم أجود الناس. And the two are related. He was the most courageous of people and he was the most generous of people because he didn't fear being without it. And what is the mice? He's afraid. Yani, if I give this to the masjid, to the school, to Islamic Relief, to Zaytuna College, what if I lose my job? I might need that money. What if my car breaks down? That could be money to fix the car. He's fearing the consequences of losing it. The courageous people, mashallah, easy come, easy go. Allah has promised, sadaqah will never decrease your wealth. I trust in Allah. Bismillah. They let it go. So that's generosity is a function of courage. Honesty is a function of courage. Because people usually, what's the primary reason for people lying? They fear the consequence of the truth. So you go in the kitchen and there's little Ahmed, he's like chocolate all over his mouth, fingers, cookie jar all open, crumbs all over the counter. Ahmed, I told you not to go to the cookies. I didn't eat the cookies. It wasn't me. He fears he's going to get his spanking. So he tells a fib. People fear the consequence of the truth. So honesty is a function of courage. Charity is a function of courage. We have to be courageous people. So we have to be courageous people. You know, people hide their Islam. Why? They fear maybe this guy, he's a Trump supporter. Doesn't like Muslims. He looks kind of scary, all those tattoos. Maybe you're one of those Muslims. Maybe I should say no. We have to be courageous people because we're witnesses. The Prophet ﷺ, he was the witness. يا أيها النبي إنا أرسلناك شاهدا ومبشرا ونذيرا وداعيا إلى الله بإذنه وسراجا منيرا. O Prophet, we sent you as a witness, as a giver of glad tidings, as a warner. And these are our jobs. We have to witness. كونوا قوامين بالقسط شهداء لله. كونوا شهداء لله. قوامين بالقسط. Be witnesses for the truth. شهداء لله. Be witnesses for Allah. Be witnesses for the religion. And it's all practice in this world. Rayan, why did you raise your hand, young man? Congratulations on your hit yesterday. I heard about it. Scored a run too. Yeah, he's an aspiring young baseball player there. Got his first hit yesterday and scored a run, mobbed by his teammates. The winning run. Congratulations, Ray. Job well done. It's halal. It's baseball. It's halal. Football, astaghfirullah. Because they play that with a pigskin. A'udhu billah. Baseball is cowhide. It's cool. Congratulations. And what's that? Alhamdulillah. We got history, so I'm not really putting him on the spot. I know him from back on the East Coast. Yeah. Alhamdulillah. Anyway, we have to be courageous because we're witnesses. We're givers of glad tidings. You don't have to live like this. People destroying their lives. Alcohol, drugs, fornication, who knows what. Who's supposed to be telling them, you don't have to live like this? The Muslims. People destroying their lives, materialism, and it affects us. We're like, if you are a tea bag and you're steeped in hot water, the hot water is going to affect you. We're surrounded by a materialistic civilization. Materialism affects us. You know, and when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala introduces the antidote for that, the first thing he mentions about the people who have the antidote in the Quran. Again, we mentioned this yesterday, but repetition sometimes is beneficial, or the day before yesterday. I can't keep track. ذَلِكَ الْكِتَابُ لَا رَيْبَ فِيهِ هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ. This is the scripture, no doubt concerning it. Guidance for those who are God-fearing. Then what is their first description? There's no description. There's announcement. هُدًى لِلْمُتَّقِينَ الَّذِينَ يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْغَيْبِ. Those who believe in the unseen. That's their first characteristic. In other words, those who are not materialists. Because materialists don't believe in the unseen. If you can't see it, touch it, hear it, smell it, it doesn't exist. And then they try to mess you up. Like, prove to me God exists. And you're trying to figure out a way on the basis of this, and this, and this, and this, that's taste. To prove that God, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who says about himself in the Quran, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ, there's nothing like unto him. So on the basis of that, how can you prove لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ? Now you can make a rational, logical formulation that if you accept the premises of the argument, you have to conclude Allah Ta'ala exists. But some people will even reject a logical premise. For example, if they say the Big Bang, that's how everything started. And if you say, okay, well, you're saying the Big Bang, there was this densely superheated, super dense matter in the middle of space, and then it exploded, and that's how the universe began. And if you say, well, where did it come from? Because that's an effect, and every effect that we know of in this creation has a cause. So, what caused that to be? Logically, and then you say, God made it. That's a logical explanation. But they might not accept it. And then if you said, okay, you don't believe in God, so let's just say it was just there, it made itself. Nothing we know in the world made itself. But let's just say, since you say, I said God made it, you said, I don't believe in God. Okay, it made itself. Then if you said, okay, it exploded. So it's stationary, it's just sitting there in the middle of space, chilling out, even though it's super hot. You guys got that one? Chilling out, super hot. So it's just in the middle of space, chilling out, even though it's super hot. Then it exploded, so if it's just chilling out, that means it's in a stable state. It's like 2 plates of a scale. They're gonna be balanced forever unless someone puts something on one side. There's no stable state that we know of that's disrupted, that's not disrupted without introducing something to disrupt it. They say there can't be tarjih bidun murajjih. You can't have a big bang without a big banger. But I mean, if the table's just here, let's say this table is the super hot, densely heated dark matter in the middle of space, just minding its own building, chilling out. So it's the table. Then suddenly there was a big bang. But we can't have the big bang without the big banger. I'm the big banger. I even like it. Ah, that felt good. Do it again, do it again. But you're saying that big bang didn't have a big banger. Then I said, no. Every big bang has a big banger, and the big banger is God. So you can make logical, if you accept the premises, you have to accept the conclusion of the argument. But, you know, some people don't accept the premises. And so they're just going against everything we know. So again, where knowledge is bliss, 'tis folly to be ignorant. So if you accept, to go back to the beginning of this particular phase, I went off on that particular tangent, which was you're trying to prove the immaterial through an epistemology, an approach to knowledge based on the material. Things don't work like that. So when you know that, then you're in bliss. You don't have these faith crises because you went to philosophy class and the professor said, I don't believe in God, prove to me that God exists. And the only epistemology, the only theory, approach to knowledge that the professor knows is a materialistic one. But you say no. All of creation, all of existence, human life is not just the material. It's saying we're just material. How come when that immaterial force, our ruh, is gone from our body, the body ceases to exist? You know, how do we account for our dreams? So neuroscience is working on that. How do we account for deja vu? Like Yogi Berra, that's Tariq Subhana, Honey, right there, came from New York. That's Rayan's father. I knew them in New York. That's why I can put him on the spot, talk about his first hit. That's my man, Rayan. But one of his favorite people is Yogi Berra. Yogi Berra, he has yogiisms. See, go back to the hikmah. Like Yogi said, if you come to a fork in the road, pick it up. And Yogi said, a nickel ain't worth a dime these days. And another thing Yogi said is deja vu all over again. Like, how do you explain deja vu? How do you explain Yani Kesh? I have a friend of mine. Now, Sheikh Hamza, you guys heard of Sheikh Hamza Yusuf. Before Sheikh Hamza Yusuf was Sheikh Hamza Yusuf, he was just an ordinary convert. Like, how many converts out there? Got some converts out there? No converts? Oh, there's Sister Diane's a convert. Oh, my wife's a convert. I'm a convert. You got converts? Where? Oh, upstairs. Got some converts up there. All right, when Sheikh Hamza was just an average, ordinary convert, he wasn't Sheikh Hamza Yusuf. He was Abdul Wahid. That was his first name. Sometimes converts, we switch names. They're like sneakers. Like the convert tries some Converse, but they don't like the Converse. Try Adidas, Adi, Pumas. So sometimes you convert, you try different names. So the first name he tried was Abdul Wahid. And so he was with some Mauritanians in the Emirates before he went to Mauritania. And there were Malikis, and so he became enamored with the Maliki school of jurisprudence, Maliki approach, Amlu Ahl al-Madina, very attractive concept. The actions of the people of Medina, and what they agreed on. So he became Maliki, and he took the name Abdul Wahid, because Abdul Wahid ibn Ashir, this great Maliki scholar, he wrote the poem that a lot of Malikis study initially. And so he was going to say the Fatiha at the grave of Abdul Wahid. So he went to Fez, Morocco. Abdul Wahid is buried, Abdul Wahid ibn Ashir. And they briefed him. When you go to Morocco, you have to get briefed, because they say, "La tastaghrib ma dumta bil maghrib." As long as you're in Morocco, don't be surprised by anything. So they said, listen, whatever you do, don't give any beggars any money. Because if you give one money, they're going to all mob you. And you're never going to make it to Ibn Ashir. You're never going to make it to Abdul Wahid. So Sheikh Hamza starts walking. And the beggar comes up. Atini flus. Give me some money. Walking. They briefed me and said, don't give any beggars any money. And this guy's persistent. Atini flus. Give me some money. Atini flus. Then he said, the guy got in front of him and stopped him. Anta Abdul Wahid, and Abdul Wahid, Anta Tazur Abdul Wahid, Atini Flus. And you put it that way. He said, my name is Abdul Wahid, your name is Abdul Wahid, and you're going to visit Abdul Wahid, give me some money. Okay, sure, buddy. How much do you want? How do you explain that based on materialism? That's not unusual. I could tell you so many stories like that. You guys could tell me stories. How do you explain that based on materialism? There's so much more to human existence that transcends material reality. How do you explain consciousness? You accept evolution. So you evolved from a monkey. Your great-great-grandfather talks like this. MashaAllah. And that evolved, first it was something minute, inorganic, subatomic particle that just started becoming organic. Then it figured out how to multiply, and then it divided over the billions and eons. It evolved into us. All right, that's physical evolution. Where did human consciousness come from? How did consciousness evolve from immaterial substance? How did thought evolve? Come on, give me an answer. You guys go to UC Irvine. You smart people. You have atheistic professors. Go ask your professor, how did human consciousness evolve from nothing, from material stuff? Okay, we explain the evolution of the body. How do you explain the evolution of the processes of the mind? Believe me, they don't have an answer. We explained how the moths in Birmingham became black and brown, or Manchester, when they started using coal to fire all these textile factories to mill all the textiles, the cotton that was being stolen from Egypt to be made into cloth, be sold in India and Nigeria after we destroyed the indigenous textile industry in those places. But why didn't even physical evolution? They've breeded thousands of generations of fruit flies, and they're still fruit flies. They haven't evolved into horse flies. After thousands of generations, because they breed very fast. Some of you study genetics. They're still fruit flies. That's another issue, though. How did consciousness evolve? Right? They say natural adaptation. I'll give you something that defies natural adaptation. You ready? All right, in the northeast part of the country, where they have green trees in the spring and the summer, why aren't all the birds green? Why is a cardinal bright red? Why is a bluebird bright blue? Why does a robin have a red breast? And they all live in the same environment. Why aren't they all green? Why didn't they adapt to their environment? How come as long as humans have been recording life in those areas, after all those generations of birds, the cardinal is still red, the bluebird is still blue, and the robin still has an orange breast? Someone explain that to me. Someone explain to me, based on your knowledge of the physical world, how many of you had a cast on your arm or your leg? And when they took the cast off, what did your arm look like? You were surprised, weren't you? It's like skin and bone. Why? Because you didn't use the muscles, and the muscles atrophy, right? I mean, if I'm doing something wrong, I'm sure there's some doctors here. This is Irvine. Some rich people out here. So the doctors can speak up. If I'm off the rails, I've been off the rails all morning. You should have had the program in the evening. I would be sane. I'm just saying. But how come a bear hibernates for 6 months and his muscles don't atrophy? How come the bear wakes up after 6 months of just sleeping, not using a single muscle, just shakes himself off and just gets up and walks away? How come the Alaskan wood frog freezes solid in the winter, thaws out in the spring and hops away. Now, how come? I know I spent a long time in New Haven, Connecticut. There's a university there called Yale University. I have a friend, Nail, Dr. Nail. They tried to reproduce that in a laboratory. And they just ended up with a bunch of dead frogs. Seriously, I said, now you have tremendous job security. Because you guys, they shut the experiment down. They're like, man, forget it. Now explain it. Well, the frog, he injects a saline solution throughout his body. At the onset of winter, it starts getting cold, and that protects the tissues. And so they tried to replicate that. They couldn't do it. That's just physical thing. How consciousness, though. So what's the point? When you have knowledge, then you're in bliss. You're not tormented by a faith crisis. You understand there's so much to reality that transcends what we can empirically verify. And that this is something our ancestors always understood. That's why they didn't have any problem reconciling faith and science, as the modern world does. So what does the modern world do? We get rid of faith, since we can't reconcile it. But the Muslims always reconciled it. And so all of our physicians were metaphysicians. And all of our metaphysicians were physicians. And we didn't see any contradiction between the two. That's what Islam gave to the world. So, but anyway, we have to be courageous. We understand we're defending something in the world that's under attack. And it's under attack by the direct enemies of Islam. It's under attack by the useful idiots that the enemies of Islam use from the Muslim ranks to attack Islam. And so we have to be courageous. And we have to tell people, you don't have to live like this. Look at how many of you have heard of W.E.B. Du Bois? Right, great African-American intellectual. What did he say about the 20th century? The 20th century will be the problem of the color line, the race problem. The 20th century was the problem, it was the race problem. In 1960, you had race riots, cities being burned down. Detroit, Newark, New Jersey. Some of the cities Detroit never recovered. Now we're in the 21st century in America, and one of the major problems, just go to a Trump rally, is the problem of racism and racism. The country still hasn't gotten beyond it. And what's the difference between the beginning of the 21st century and the beginning of the 20th century? What's the difference? What's changed in America? Still have racism, still have racists. And we have a whole bunch of Muslims now that we didn't have then, who have a job to tell people you don't have to be bogged down and torn by this racism. Now, I know we have some racial issues in some masjids, but that's not because people are practicing Islam. That's because people are ignoring the teachings of the religion. And a person that knows where knowledge is bliss isn't stressed out by these racial issues that are threatening to literally tear this country apart today as we speak. You see, the wrong color is next to you in the prayer line. You're not stressed out. Some people literally are stressed out. They'd be stressed out. It's like, how did they even get into our mosque? It's like, mashallah. brother, let's go get some tea afterwards. Arnold Toynbee said, Western civilization can benefit from Islam in two ways: racism and alcoholism. But mubashiran, shahidan, wa mubashiran, who's going to give people the glad tidings? Who's going to tell people and demonstrate to people and lead people out of racism and lead people out of alcoholism? If the Muslims don't do it, then who? If not us, then whom? We have to be courageous, brothers and sisters. We have to be courageous. And then so, hikmah, sheen, courage, shaja. Ain, iffa, yani self-control. Usually they say chastity, iffa, afif, but at the root of it is self-control. A Muslim has self-control. And then we get to practice every year. It's called Ramadan. Can't eat, you have to control yourself. You can't drink, you have to control yourself. You're like, astaghfirullah. I'll wait. Delayed gratification. These qualities are being inculcated into us. Ramadan, 30 days is a long time. Now it's summertime, long days of what? Practicing self-restraint. Look at, subhanallah, primarily a lot of our sisters have a hard time getting married. Some brothers, I don't understand. Not any brothers here, because half you guys are too young to get married anyway. But I can't understand how any Muslim brother over the age of 22 years old is still single. Seriously, I don't understand it. And if I got married, I was like 20. I might have been 21. I forget. I think I was 20. Because I took Shahada. I said, brother, you can't have girlfriends. I said, what am I supposed to do? To like, either you marry her or you get rid of her, brother. Okay, that was a no-brainer. How do you get married? We need a couple witnesses. Can anyone do? Hey, yo, I need two of y'all to get over here. It was so easy. Subhanallah. I don't understand it. But if you're over 22, you need to get married like right now after Dhuhr. I'll do it if the Imam doesn't want to do it, because I can leave. Right? He'll still be here. He could get blamed for stuff. But I'll be gone. So if you want to get married, sisters, if you're single and you want to get married also, see me after Dhuhr, inshallah. We're going to make this real quick. It's going to be like a surgical strike. Quick and easy. Subhanallah. Anyway, self-restraint. Again, look at self-restraint is ridiculed. You have these characters, Bart Simpson and Beavis and Butthead. It's like they just act like fools, and then people imitate them in acting like fools. You have these rap characters acting like fools, and then people imitate them, act like fools. It's like Simon Says. How many remember Simon Says? Remember that game? They should keep Simon Says active. Don't retire that game. So people can realize when you're being manipulated to act like a fool. Like Simon says, do this. And then they say, do this. I didn't say Simon Says. So like these fools on TV said, do this. Simon Says, walk around with your pants falling off your rear end. So all the fools start walking around with their pants falling off their rear end. Simon says, wear clothes that are so tight, it takes you an hour to squeeze into them. She got fools. Just get some baggy stuff and just jump into it and you're straight, you're done. Like wake up in the morning, you have your baggy pants next to the bed, you just jump into them. You don't even, and just pull up, make sure you get a belt so you don't have an excuse for them to be falling off your rear end. You just jump in. Simon says, women, wear spandex. See, he didn't tell the men, so the men didn't do it because Simon didn't say do it. Like, brother, how come your wife is wearing spandex and you got on baggy pants? Because Simon told the women to wear it, not the men. Because, you know, Simon likes to look at female anatomy. Simon is messed up. Just forget it. Forget it. Just dress like Muhammad said, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Just get some dignified, loose, baggy stuff, male and female, and you're straight. You're done. It's all over. You save money. Where knowledge is bliss. You have more money, you're happier. Where knowledge is bliss, 'tis folly to be ignorant. But ignorant people are listening to Simon. Simon says, wear spandex. He got the men in tight stuff. Simon said, men, wear skinny jeans. Because Lil Wayne wears skinny jeans. You know you like Lil Wayne. You even trying to sneak a tattoo in. Trying to sneak in a tattoo or two or three. Like Lil Wayne, skinny jeans. Simon, no. Forget it. Forget it. Be courageous. Be wise. Have self-restraint. So we ought to wrap up. How many of you know about the cookie experiment? They gave the child a cookie. Yeah, the delayed gratification. And the child's ready to eat the cookie. They said, wait a minute. If you wait to eat the cookie, you get another cookie. And then most of the kids ate the cookie. But those who didn't, then they traced the two groups. The ones that waited for the second cookie, they all did better in life. Because they had iffah. They had self-restraint. And self-restraint will benefit you in all aspects of your life. Al-ajala min al-shaytan. At-ta'anni min al-rahman wal-ajala min al-shaytan. Hastiness is from the devil. Deliberateness is from Allah. Take time, reflect. And then finally, adl. Ayn, ha, hikmah, wisdom. Sha, shaja'a, courage. Ayn, iffah. Ayn, adala, adl. Justice. To be just. But to understand, justice must always be tempered with fairness. Justice is always tempered with fairness. Justice has its limits. So, now we have a lot of Muslims. They're desperately seeking justice, but they're not fair. So people will say, you know, the West, they bombed us, so we have to strike back. The West isn't there. The U.S. Marines aren't there. Okay, well, the Kafir government is their agents. So since they're helping the Kafir Americans, then they're Kafirs. So we'll kill their policemen, and who are only policemen because there's no other job to be found. That's not just. Justice has to be tempered by fairness. Justice has to be tempered by fairness. So may Allah give us tawfiq. And when we understand, when we know who we are, when we know what a Muslim is, we'll stop here where knowledge is bliss. Knowing what a Muslim is so blissful because it will prevent 99% of the things that stress us out. And so what is a Muslim? You have the definition, mutakallimin, manatiqa, but you have the definition of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Al-Muslim man salim al-Muslimuna min lisanihi wa yadihi. The Muslim is one, the other Muslims are safe from their tongue and hand. Al-Muslim man salim al-nasu min lisanihi wa yadihi. The Muslim is one, all of the people are safe from their tongue and hand. Al-Muslim man aminahu al-nasu بدمائهم وأموالهم وبرواية بأنفسهم وبأموالهم. The Muslim is one, the people entrust their lives and their property to. These are all Sahih Hadith. أي الإسلام أفضل? Which manifestation of Islam is best? And salim an-nas min lisanika wa yadik. That people are safe from your tongue and hand. This is the Muslim. And so, when people have that knowledge, a Muslim is a person who renders people safe. A Muslim this is the essence of Islam. This is the essence of our greeting. Like they say, Assalamu alaikum. They say, peace unto you. But there's a deeper meaning. Salima yaslamu salama. Salima yaslamu is to be free from any defects. So amin. Amin is what? A state where you will not be harmed. A state where you will not be harmed. So al-Muslim man salima al-Muslimuna min lisanihi wa yadi. Al-Muslim man salima al-nasu min lisanihi wa yadi. So a person is not harmed. So when we say assalamu alaikum, you're going to have peace because I'm not going to harm you. I'm not going to render you defective. Allah, as-salam, ar-Rahman, ar-Rahim, al-Malik, al-Quddus, as-salam. As-salam is the one huwa alladhi huwa salim min al-uyub wal-naqa'is. Is free from any defects or imperfections. I'm not going to undermine you. I'm not going to render you defective. I'm not going to harm you. That's what Assalamu alaikum means. That's what the Muslim is. And when people know that, that knowledge is bliss. Because I have a foundation to coexist. That even rhymed. When people know that, that knowledge is bliss because I have a foundation to coexist. I don't have to be at war with the world because I have a foundation to be at peace with the world. And when I'm at peace with the world, I can come together with good people to make a better world, a safer world, a saner world, as opposed to thinking that I'm at war with the world and because I'm in a weak position, and that's from the hikmah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I have to use stealth, I have to use despicable tactics, I have to sneak up on people and blend in and then blow them up. I can relax and reach out to people and build bridges of cooperation and goodwill. Tayyip. Any questions or comments? Probably I took all the time. I apologize for that. I have an announcement. There's information about Zaytuna College in the back, in the lobby. Take a flyer on your way out the door, especially if you're a high school junior or senior. And I'm just going to say one thing about Zaytuna College. Remember this, if you don't remember anything else. Go to Zaytuna College, get some knowledge, stay there until you are through. If they made penicillin out of molded bread, Zaytuna College might make something out of you. That's it. Okay, so any questions or answers or comments, deletions, subtractions? Yallah, bismillah. Or you just ready to pray and go home and take a nap? Yes, over there somewhere. Yes, sir. My good brother from San Bernardino. Alhamdulillah. I know where you're from, but I forgot your name. Alhamdulillah. All right, brother, that's fine. Now, tafaddal. Khawaja. Alhamdulillah. That's what we mentioned. Courage is rooted in anger. So when a person eliminates anger altogether, they might not act in situations that require action. But when a person's overwhelmed by anger, then they lose all balance and moderation. So it's moderating that characteristic. And understanding when things that are universally recognized as wrong, then we're required to act. But the wisdom of our Prophet ﷺ, مَنْ رَأَى مِنْكُمْ مُنْكَرًا فَلْيُغَيِّرْهُ بِيَدِهِ. If one of you sees something wrong, change it with their hand. Within the limits set by Allah, to change it with your hands. وَإِنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطَعْ. But you might not be able to do that. So what do? Go beyond the limits? Commit suicide? Haram. Murder people? Haram. Use stealth? Haram. Undermine the sanctity of public space? It's all haram. So I can't do anything. And what did the Prophet say, sallallahu alaihi wasallam? You might have a situation you can't do anything. So in that case, فَبِلِسَانِهِ, then speak out against it. So universally wrong: murder, oppression, bloodshed, usurpation, exploiting people's wealth, etc., racism. But if I can't speak out against it in a way, then do I start using foul language? Do I start undermining people's honor? Do I say anything that comes to my mind? No. فَإِن لَمْ يَسْتَطَعْ. There might be a situation you can't speak out against it within the limits set by Allah. What are the limits for our speech? من كان يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر فليقل خيرا أو ليصمت. Whoever believes in the law and the last day, speak well or remain silent. Some of us think, okay, they're not going to listen to me, so I'm going to really give it to them online. I'm going to write the ultimate Facebook status. I'm going to make their honor, I'm going to trample on it. لا القلم من لسانين القلم أحد لسانين. The qalam, the pen, is one of the two tongues. And the keyboard is an extension of the pen. So sometimes you can't speak out within the limits. فَإِن لَمْ يَسْتَطَعْ فَبِقَلْبِهِ وَذَلِكَ أَضْعَفُ الْإِيمَانِ. You can't do anything lawful. You can't say anything lawful. Then hate it in your heart. And that's the lowest level of faith. So we have the program right there. And so we're not pushed by anger to do things that transgress the limit. We're not pushed by anger to say things that transgress the limit. And we're not so impervious to being upset that we don't even hate it in our hearts anymore. There's a lot of stuff we should be hating in our hearts. And so that's like embers just waiting for a little lighter fluid to burst into life. Now, yes, questions, comments, additions, subtractions, deletions? No? Okay. If not, may Allah bless everyone. The marriage offer is still good. There'll be weddings after Dhuhr. We'd be like the Moonies. Like the Moonies, okay, our sister has a question. Let me tell you about the Moonies, the followers of Sun Young Moon. They have these big conventions, right? And then they get like 100 young women and 100 young men. And then Reverend Moon would just get up there. I don't even know if he's still alive. But back in the day, he like, okay, you marry her, and you marry him, you marry her, and you marry him. Then they have like 100 weddings, and they all live happily ever after. It's real simple. Like we should do it like Mooney style. Just get 50 brothers, 50 sisters. Hey, you guys look like you make a good couple. All right, you go over there. We'll see you after Lord. All right, yeah, brother, you marry that sister. Khalas. It's too complicated. It shouldn't be complicated. It should be easy. Yes, sister. Oh, you didn't have a question? I thought you raised your hand. That wasn't you? You're stretching? Okay. It's all good. May Allah bless you. May Allah bless the Irvine Masjid. Okay, we got someone over here. Yes, sir. And so the questioner says, what if you're traumatized in your youth? And because you're traumatized, you're just too afraid and to act on the anger that's in you. And again, acting with moderation, moderating the anger. How do you overcome that? Number one is looking for someone that you can talk to. Because a lot of times just talking about something empowers us. And by talking about it and empowering ourselves, we can begin to take the steps necessary to move beyond it. Secondly, by being around courageous people. Al-mar ala deen khalilih. فَلْيَنْظُرْ أَحَدُكُمْ مَنْ يُخَالِلُ. A person is on the religion of their companions. So if you're around people who they're able to speak up and they're able to express themselves, again, within the limits of moderation. So it's balancing. I'tidal, quwwat ash-shahwa. So moderating the facility or quwwat al-ghadab, shahwa ghadab, the potentiality or the faculty of anger, moderating it. So those who are able to moderate, they're able to express themselves, they're able to speak out against injustices. When it's reasonable, they're able to go and they're able to protest or join others who are active in addressing a certain injustice. Be around those people. Because a person is on the religion of their companions. And so try to be around those people. And that's something very important for us. A lot of times we try to get around people we're over in our religion because it makes us feel like even though my deen is shaky, his is shakier. I just smoke pot. He smokes pot and drinks alcohol. So, no, get around the person that doesn't smoke pot or drink alcohol. So you can be encouraged to elevate yourself. And so sometimes we avoid those people. Right? We should challenge ourselves so that we can be better in our religion, in our deen. And we can pick ourselves up. Islam isn't about it's not about lowering the bar. The bar is set high, not by us, by Allah Ta'ala. And so we train and we strengthen our leg muscles so we can jump over the bar. We don't lower the bar and stay weak. We look at the bar and say, man, you gotta have legs like a kangaroo to jump over that bar. And then we start training, right? Running up hills, doing our squats, make my legs strong. Our squat is called salat. Make our legs strong. Read that Quran. Make that dhikr. I'm not talking Sufi stuff either. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اذكروا الله ذكرا كثيرا وسبحوه بكرة وأصيلا. Remember Allah abundantly. That's Quran. اذكروا الله ذكرا كثيرا. You know, get a litany going in the morning and the evening. Do the Ma'thurat of Hasan al-Banna. Do Wird al-Latif, Imam al-Latif. Do the awrad al-sabah wal-masa al-masnoona. And Imam Nawawi's adhkar. They're mentioned, but he has the hadith, but Imam Suyuti has extracted them and has a booklet, just the adhkar itself. Do those. Make your legs stronger. Hang out with people whose deen is better. Like, how many basketball players here? I know we're in Southern California. I know there's some basketball players. How do you get better in basketball? Practice. But how do you get better in basketball and have fun doing it? Practice can be boring. Like, I'm like Steph Curry. I shoot 100 jump shots from one spot. And that could be boring. How do you get better fast? Playing against people better than you. If you're 8 years old, play with the 10-year-olds. Then you go back to the 8-year-old, you're like destroying them. You play with people better than you. That's the secret. You're in junior high, play with the high schoolers. You're in high school, play with the college guys. You're in college, if you get a chance, you go to Kobe's pad, you know. Rent a helicopter so Kobe think you're important. Whoompa, 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 whoompa. Like Kobe getting ready to shoot you down. They said, nah, Kobe, man, that's someone important, man. They coming in like a helicopter, like you fly in. Whoompa, 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 whoompa. Then it's you have rented the helicopter. Yo, Kobe, man, I'm here to mix it up with you. I know you deteriorating. Your skills is not what they used to be. But still, though, you might be able to teach me something. So you make Kobe feel good. He can still. But so the same thing in deen. Get to people around people whose deen, whose religion is stronger. Get around people, they remember Allah. So you go to their house, they don't turn on the TV. They like give you a mushaf. Let's read Quran. Yeah, I'll check your tajweed. Let's just read a hizb. I'll read a page, you read a page. No, let's make some dhikr. فَنَذْكُرُ اللَّهَ قَلِيلًا. Let's remember Allah a little while. And so gradually the legs get stronger. Then before you know it, you're jumping over the bar. Don't lower the bar, strengthen your legs. If you take anything from this morning, besides a couple bad jokes, take this. Don't lower the bar, strengthen your legs. Don't lower the bar, strengthen your legs. So may Allah bless everyone. We're going to stop here. So know what a Muslim is. Where knowledge is bliss, know what a Muslim is. Know what our religion is. Know what the difference between physical reality and metaphysical reality. Know that the human being is in both realms. The human being is in both realms. And that's the source of our uniqueness. Don't let some person just reduce you to the material realm, where you're just like this table. You just, don't let Richard Dawkins tell you, you're just like this table. You're just a composite of molecules and atoms, but you got the lucky gene. You ain't getting no lucky gene. Allah Ta'ala made you different and unique in His creation. Allah bless everyone. So know those things, and it's bliss, because know the limits of action. Like we said, wisdom. Know when it's time to not do anything. Like we're obsessed with this idea. I have to do something. It's like we got to do something. We are like activist fever. Like I got to do something. Sometimes it's good to do nothing. Go pray. Because when you get into this, I have to do something, usually you're going to paint yourself into a corner. And you're like, uh-oh, I'm stuck. So you paint yourself in the corner, you're going to get wet feet walking out. In other words, you put yourself in a situation, you have to do something that's harmful to you. Sometimes you do nothing. When the Prophet ﷺ, if something, a grave situation befell him, what happened? He would immediately go pray. He would immediately go pray. Sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Sometimes it's good to do nothing. Sometimes it's good to acknowledge that we can't do anything. وَخُلِقَ الْإِنسَانُ ضَعِيفًا. The human was created weak. Sometimes it's good to acknowledge our weakness and then seek strength through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the source of all strength. You know, this is the last thing I'm going to say. I know I said, he came late and he's laughing. You know, yeah, I came late. I know he said that 10 times already. Because he's from Oakland, y'all. Moved down here on the DL. He just popped up in Long Beach. Brother didn't even tell us he was leaving. Just popped up in Long Beach. But so he knows that I said it already 10 times. That's why he's laughing and came late. Anyway, I forgot what I was going to say the last time. May Allah bless you guys. It had to something, sometimes you just don't do anything. Anyway, keep smiling, keep believing in yourself. Believe you have something positive to offer the world. Know that Islam is precious. And you know the proof that it's precious, Allah doesn't give it to everyone. Right? There's 2 billion Muslims on earth. They say 1.7, let's say 2. There are 8 billion people. So Muslims are only a quarter of humanity. Allah doesn't give Islam to everybody. There's 10 million Muslims in America. There's 317 million people. Allah doesn't give Islam to everybody. Why? Because it's precious. Allah gives the dunya to anybody. Why? Because it doesn't mean anything. لو تعدل الدنيا عند الله جناح بعوضة ما سقى فيها كافرا شربة ماء. The dunya is not even a mosquito's wing with Allah. So He gives it to whomever. He gives it to the believer, He gives it to the non-believer, but Allah only gives the deen to people He loves. So know that Allah loves you and that He's given you something precious because you're special amongst all these people on this earth. May Allah bless you, give you tawfiq. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.